Brand new data suggests that Donald Trump looks unstoppable in the key swing state of Pennsylvania. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video. Today, we have to talk about the 2024 presidential election because it appears that Donald Trump looks unbeatable in the key swing state of Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's right. Despite what some Democrats may claim about the current state of the race, they're in a very bad situation in Pennsylvania. Now, that doesn't mean that they're gonna lose the Commonwealth by 15 points or some ridiculous margin like that. But you look at the current polling and other data points out of the Commonwealth, it becomes apparent that, yeah, Kamala Harris has a big problem here. And if she has a big problem in Pennsylvania, her pathway to the presidency is all but dead. Now, of course, there is a pathway for Harris without Pennsylvania, but it's so unlikely that I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's really possible. So Pennsylvania is a big deal. And, well, we have a brand new poll from Insider Advantage, one of the best pollsters out there, and right now, they have a Trump +2 in Pennsylvania. Yeah, Trump +2. Now, Insider Advantage in Pennsylvania, back in 2020, they were one of the most accurate pollsters out of the Commonwealth. Now, to be fair, their final poll was roughly Trump +2. And Biden won the Commonwealth by roughly a point. So yeah, it's a 3-point miss, but that's much better than NBC News / Marist that was off by 4. You had a couple pollsters in early October, the same time period. Look at this. Biden +10, +8, +7, +8, +7, +5. And even in early October, Insider Advantage, they had it Biden +3. Yeah, in the same time period as we are in right now, early October, they found it Biden +3. The same pollster right now, they have it Trump +2. Now, is it possible that Insider Advantage is going to be wrong this time? I guess it's a possibility. But they're not the only pollster in the RCP average right now that has Trump with a lead. They have Insider Advantage Trump +2, but also Trafalgar Trump +3, Atlas Intel Trump +3. Hell, the other polls outside of Bloomberg, they have the race as a statistical tie. Emerson, Fox News, Rasmussen, even Cook Political Report, they only found it Harris +1. In other words, every other pollster except one has the race either a statistical tie or a Trump win. That's the polling right now in Pennsylvania. The only pollster that has Harris with a lead larger than 1 point is Bloomberg. Yeah, Bloomberg, aka Morning Consult, one of the worst pollsters out there. They found it Harris +5. But everyone else, they found Trump +2, Trump +3, a tied race. Even Cook Political Report, it's only Harris +1. So Insider Advantage, they're not an outlier. Far from it. In fact, they're actually with the consensus because everyone else, they found the race as a statistical tie, or Atlas Intel and Trafalgar, they found a Trump +3. So who do you trust more? Insider Advantage, Trafalgar, and Atlas Intel, or do you trust Bloomberg? I know Trafalgar isn't the best pollster. They have some big misses here and there, but Trafalgar back in 2020, they were a damn good pollster out of Pennsylvania. They were only off by 2 to 3 points, which again, compared to other pollsters, that's nothing. Hell, in early October, they had it Biden +2, right? That was nearly identical to the final margin in Pennsylvania. Their early polls in October, they tend to be more accurate. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, when it comes to Trafalgar, even Insider Advantage, their polls in late September and early October, they tend to be more accurate than their final poll. I don't know why, but that's Trafalgar. And right now, they have it Trump +3, which is identical to Atlas Intel, which, by the way, they are the best pollster in 2020, or they were. They found it Trump +3. Insider Advantage, Trump +2. So it's nothing but Trump leads except for one poll. A single poll that's bringing down the average by a lot. If it wasn't for Bloomberg, it would probably be Trump +1 in the RCP average right now. All because of a single shitty poll from Bloomberg, one of the worst pollsters out there. But fine, you might be saying, well, okay, Trump is leading in the RCP average, which compared to 2020, the same time period, it was Clinton +9, Biden +7. So it's like a 7 to 9 point shift from 2020 and 2016. But maybe the polls are going to overstate Trump this cycle by some miracle for the first time ever. They're going to overstate Trump in Pennsylvania. Which sounds crazy, but fine. Polling isn't everything. I get that part. Like, okay, the polls, they show a Trump lead, but polling isn't everything. Okay, let's look at voter registration, right? Let's look at voter registration in Pennsylvania. Oh yeah, in the month of September, Republicans gained 60,000 voters. Democrats gained only 35,000. Yeah. Republicans, they out-registered Democrats nearly 2-1 in Pennsylvania. And for those that don't know, this doesn't usually ever happen. Now, I know in Pennsylvania you have a bunch of ancestral Democrats, but every election cycle, in September, in October, even in August, Democrats, they usually see a surge in voter registration across the board. In August, September, and October. Well, that's not happening. In fact, Republicans last month, they absolutely killed Democrats in voter registration. Look at this. Nearly 2-1 Republican. This is a big deal because this doesn't usually ever happen, especially in September. Like, it's one thing if this was in May or June. Like, okay, it's a pretty big number for Republicans, but you could argue, well, it's not close to the election, and by September or October, Democrats are going to see a surge. That's one thing. But this isn't September. This isn't May. This isn't June. This isn't even July. This is the month of September, which, by the way, historically at least, Democrats usually have a big surge in voter registration in the month of September. This always happens, but right now, they're not seeing it. In fact, they are getting killed in Pennsylvania right now. I mean, these numbers are just bad. I mean, 60,000 Republicans, while Democrats gained only 35,000. And I know a decent chunk of these new Republicans, they're ancestral Democrats. I understand that. But you could go by county, and you realize quickly, these are not voters from Western Pennsylvania that have been Democrats for 30 years, but they've been voting Republican for 20. They just decided to become Republicans now. That's not what's happening here. Republicans are gaining in places like Philly, Bucks, Luzerne, Lackawanna. Hell, they barely lost in Delaware and Chester. Yeah, two counties that, by all metrics, have been trending Democrat for years now. So it's not just ancestral Democrats now becoming Republicans. These are new voters. These are people that have never voted. They're becoming Republicans. Hell, a place like Center County, it's been trending Democrat in recent years. Republicans gained voters out of Center. Hell, there's a chance that they could actually flip Center County in voter registration by the end of the month. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's looking pretty bad for Dems there. So it's not just polling that's showing real bad news for Democrats. It's voter registration. But fine, voter registration, it isn't everything. You could argue, well, maybe it's inflated because of ancestral Democrats becoming Republicans, which, like I said, you go county by county, and that's not the case. But fine, maybe that's what's happening here. Maybe it's a complete fluke. Which is ridiculous to say, but fine. Let's say a voter registration, just like the polling, it isn't everything. Okay, I can understand that to a lesser extent. Well, there is one other metric out there that, no matter how much Democrats cope about it, it's a complete disaster for them in Pennsylvania. Early voting. Now, with early voting, you have to be careful because it can be misleading. But when it's been this consistently bad for Democrats, this entire cycle, it's not just one bad day. Every single day, it's gotten worse and worse and worse for Democrats every day. At the start of early voting, it was roughly 64% Democrat. As of yesterday, it was 61% Democrat. A couple weeks ago, it was 25% Republican. Now it's 27% Republican. Every day, Republicans keep going up and up and up in request. Now, people are going to say, but look at the returns. That means people actually voted. That's what this bottom right metric is. And right now, it looks pretty good for Dems. Like, look at the returns. It's 73% Democrat. Here's the thing, though, about the returns. Right now, there's like 20 counties in Pennsylvania that, as of now, have not shipped out mail-in votes. And the vast majority of these counties, they're in the Republican parts of the state. So the returns is a little bit misleading because it's basically all from Philly and Allegheny. So of course it's going to be way more Democrat. It's from Philly and Pittsburgh. But when we get the rest of the state, we'll know for sure what's happening in Pennsylvania. But right now, the best metric we do got, as of now, is total requests. And every day it's been trending downwards for Democrats. And we'll know by probably the end of the week, maybe early next week, how the returns really look. Because at that point, more than likely, every county should have sent out mail-in ballots at that point. Now, there might be some counties that they're not sending out ballots for whatever reason, but fine. We'll know by next week. But right now, if you still look at total requests, you cannot say it's anything but a disaster for Democrats. But by some miracle, it got even worse for them. I didn't think it was possible because it was getting so bad for Democrats that I thought, okay, at some point, you would think Democrats would recover even a little bit. Well, they didn't. In fact, Republicans made history just today. For the first time in the last 4 years, 10 statewide elections, by the way. For the first time in the last 4 years, Republicans out-requested Democrats in mail absentee ballots for the previous day. Yeah, for the first time in 4 years, at least since they started tracking this, Republicans out-requested Democrats in Pennsylvania. Look at this. Republicans requested 8,300 ballots. Democrats, they barely cracked 8,000 requests in Pennsylvania. This is real bad for Democrats because the request, like, yes, it's been trending Republican every day, but even the days that it has shifted quite a bit Republican, Democrats were still winning the request. They were winning it by a lot less, but at the bare minimum, they were still getting like 55% Democrat, 56% Democrat, 52%. But for the first time in the last 4 years, maybe ever, Republicans out-requested Democrats in mail absentee ballots yesterday. That is just crazy to think. It has never happened, at least in the last 4 years. For the first time ever, not even once in 2020 or even 22, not one single day, Republicans ever out-requested Democrats. How can you spin this as some kind of good news for Democrats? It's not! Because it's not just, oh, Republicans, they're gaining a little bit here and there. It's to a point now where Republicans are getting more requests than Democrats are. In a voter bloc that, more than likely, will still be very Democrat. I know it's going to be much closer because Republicans, they are embracing early voting a bit more. While Democrats, more than likely, they're going to vote on election day a bit more compared to 2020 and even 22. But people make it sound like that, oh, Democrats, it's going to be 80% vote on election day. No. The majority are still going to vote early. And that's why these numbers are so bad for Dems, because Republicans are getting their voters to request ballots. Now, people are going to say, but the returns. You look at the returns right now, and even though I said that there's a bunch of counties that are very Republican, they have yet to mail out the ballots as of now. People are still going to say, but the returns look so good for Democrats. Okay, when you look at the top line, it looks pretty good for them. But when you dig further into the numbers, even the returns, which on paper look pretty good for Democrats, are actually a complete disaster for them. Now, I want to be clear that Target Smart, they can be garbage. Sometimes they have some very wonky results. They're not the best, especially with their modeled party. But they still provide data based off of registered party. That means we know for a fact if the voter that voted was a Republican, if they're a Democrat, and we know this in a place like Pennsylvania because they register by party. Well, look at this. these are voters that are infrequent voters. That means these are people that they might have voted once 20 years ago. But that's it. They have never voted outside maybe once or twice in their entire lives. Okay? Look at this. In 2020, these voters, the people that actually voted, these are return ballots. The ballots that everyone's saying is actually really good news for Democrats. In 2020, it was roughly 70% Democrat. Okay. In 2024, it's barely above 60% Democrat. Republicans went from 14.5% to above 20. Same thing with people that did not, or first-time voters. Look at this. In 2020, these voters were roughly 15% Republican, 64% Democrat. Now Democrats, they're barely above 50, and Republicans are 25%. These are first-time voters. That means these are people that have never voted. This is their first election ever, and they are Republican. Look at this. So, okay, the total returns on paper, it looks pretty bad for Dems, but when you look into the finer details, it becomes apparent that even the total returns, which look so good for Democrats, it's a disaster because Republicans are getting low propensity voters out to vote at way higher rates compared to 2020 or even 2022, while Democrats, they're collapsing. You know what that means? You could argue that old Democrats are doing with early voting in Pennsylvania. They're cannibalizing their election day vote. That means all they're doing is they're getting their high propensity voters that vote in every single election to vote early. Despite the fact that more than likely they were going to vote on election day no matter what, they voted early. While Republicans, they're actually getting low propensity voters out to vote. People that will decide the election. This is a big deal. Because if Republicans are really getting this many more low propensity voters out to vote early, their pathway to winning Pennsylvania becomes so much easier. But we just got to see what happens. Maybe it's a fluke, but if these are the numbers without a lot of Republican areas in the Commonwealth not reporting anything, well, Democrats might be in trouble. Because if this is just from Philly, Allegheny, Bucks, Chester, more Democrat areas, they could be in deep shit in Pennsylvania. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.